is transforming your relationship with money, transforming your relationship with your free time. All of a sudden you don't have no more free time because you're a karma yogi. You always want to do good for others, so this is not like I'm going to yoga class, yes, 5 times a week, and I pay a little, go my class, and I go back and I switch on the TV or something like this. So that is not really what the soul is longing for. But this longing of the soul is another subject we also have to touch a little later. But because of that, karma yoga is amazing. Jnana yoga, oh my God, how many books do you have to study? Well, maybe you have to study, maybe you don't have to study. The studying of books is not really the top subject. As a matter of fact, my spiritual master told me, don't read too many books. Because then you get all booky, all intellectualized and you don't really know what is the essence of all those books, and you start speculating, especially when you read books alone, on your own, if you don't have any guidance to understand it. I'll just give you an example. I'm into this for last 46 years. I started with yoga with Srila long time ago. Yoga has been to a larger extent my life. And I was just recently seeing the Ramayana series on Hotstar because I was spending some time in an Ayurvedic clinic. And to tell you the truth, I never watched it before. I know the Ramayana, I read it, I love the story of Rama, Hanuman, everything is wonderful. But I never took time, like in this case, because there was like 300 series. Can you imagine? It's like, you can spend a long time. And I was with a yogi, with a dear friend of mine, who is an acharya of an institution here, and we spent most of our time crying. We shed so many tears, we got actually special tissues ordered so we could get all our tears dry. Because the Ramayana was so beautiful, so heart-touching. All the stories of Sita and Ram and Lakshman and Bharat and Hanuman. If you start getting into it, you have a real heart experience. And I'm not exactly so sentimental, I think so, but it got me. The Ramayana got me. So, this is what the books are all about. The books are supposed to touch your heart. The yogi has to have a heart transformation. Without the Shastras, that will not be possible. And therefore, the scriptures say, if you want to make up your mind, you see, we all have to make up our mind every day. Guru, Shastra, Sadhu, Vakya, Chitite, Kuriya, Aikya. There's 4 elements you have to take into consideration if you want to make up your mind. Number 1 is what your spiritual teacher says. Number 2, what those people say who you have regard for, who practice the same thing which you are practicing, hoping to get somewhere. And number 3 is, what do the scriptures say about this? Are there any scriptures backing up to what we are saying? And after you check these 3, number 4 comes. What does your heart say about it? After you check Guru, Shastra, Sadhu, now what is my heart saying? And then, if the heart goes, yes, that's it, then do it. No more doubts about it. But if you say, Shastras do not have any evidence on this, it's a little questionable. Because that's why in India, they used to say, somebody says something, they would ask him, where does it say that in the Vedas? If you cannot find any Vedic scripture evidence of what you say, then it may be just a speculation. It may not be the true message. Like I see some practices here in the yoga varieties You don't find them in any scripture. Now, maybe they're just exercises, but they are not what you need for self-realization. Just as a side commentary. You may interpret it on your own practices, no? But Shastras have authority, and authority is something very beneficial. We want to have authority. If you want to go somewhere, you don't know where it is, you want to have an authoritative guide. Yeah, you got to go there, turn to the right, and there you recognize you have reached. Precise information. You don't get that so easy. Sometimes you give you vague information. It's not so good. And sometimes they give you wrong information. And then you're off the wall because you're going somewhere where you don't want to go with all the energy it takes. So authority is not ambiguous. Authority in the yoga path is necessary. That's why the Shastras are there. You know what the meaning of Shastra is? It's cutting, like it sounds. It cuts illusion. It's like Shastra. It tra means liberates. Mantra, Tantra, Shastra. The word tra means it liberates you from some unwanted misconception. So Shastric information means authoritative information. But if you don't study any Shastras, if you don't have any Shastra, if you don't know any Shastra, then you can't talk about Shastra either. So therefore the inbound school of yoga was very Shastric. We follow the Bhagavad Gita as it is, we follow nectar of instruction, we follow Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu, we follow Srimad Bhagavatam, and a host of other important scriptures, which if you want to read all of them, it'll take you a long time. I'm still reading, I haven't finished, you know. It's very, but it's very enlivening. It's also it's a great treasure. The Shastras are true treasures. I mean, what you can find, like I told you, it touches your heart, it changes your mind, and so on. So now, we're coming back to the perennial psychology. Oida therapy, perennial psychology, is a study of consciousness and a study, it's an academic study. I spend a lot of time to make this Oida therapy academic, and I hope my books are coming. They are still on the way. But the real meaning of Oida, you can put it in books here. The real meaning of Oida is coming from Greek, and it means oid, vision, and knowledge. Oida, in Greek it means I know. So actually the root of the word Oida is Veda, knowledge. And how to see, vid is the root of video, zero, but not in the case of Oida. It's Oida is the inner vision. So you have a realization. So really Oida therapy is the therapy of realization. It is a therapy of feeling the freedom that you have to define the truth and to realize the truth. In yoga, for me, that's the most important. I was always very keen about freedom, and anything which impedes my own free decision making, I became rebellious immediately. So, but when you're standing in front of the truth, if you're hearing the truth, your submission becomes a natural flow. You go along with the flow. So the program of the Oida therapy is based on the importance of faith in consciousness. How important is faith? Because we are here, because we have faith. We have faith in Rishikesh, we have faith in yoga teachers, we have faith in Ganga, we have so many types of faith. You spend probably a good amount of money to be here. That's how much faith you have, that you just make all that effort to come here. There's many types of faith. yoga is based on faith. As a matter of fact, Krishna says, those who have been pious in previous births are automatically attracted to the yoga practice. So most likely, you guys have been in your past life already doing yoga. Or maybe doing some hermit or prayer or no, who knows what. But for some reason, because there's a whole lot of other people, they hear about yoga and they don't even look right side. They don't care. Yoga, what, from India? Forget it. So, but at the same time, we are also in a certain time where a certain awakening is about to happen. And to my understanding, the yoga teachers, they should be very integral part of this awakening. I think, for me personally, if the yogis and the yoga teachers are not helping with the awakening, then they're just business people. They just change something, they go, no, I have a yoga business. That's not what it is all about. This awakening to soul consciousness, to soul responsibility and all that, that is actually the first step of enlightenment. Enlightenment you can divide into three phases. The first one is Brahman. That means you understand Vasudeva Kutumbakam. We are all souls, we are all one family. There's a certain theoretical part of that, and then there's the one where you put it in practice, where you really become the kind-hearted friend of everybody. Just like you see our elders who come from South America on this special occasion of Kiva Kumbh Mela, they all know that we are one family. They don't look at your hairdress or your dress, on anything. They know we are one family. Where did they learn that one from? Well, from their meditations, from their prayers. They have a certain Brahman realization, because you ask anybody who's a racist. Ask a racist about others. He has no idea about Brahman. He says, oh, this is always as a green flag like this, and look how I... type of prejudice is attached to the non-understanding of Brahman and the non-understanding of the soul. And speciesism is also a non-understanding of the soul. So these things are very combined or connected. So the lack of understanding of the soul keeps people in ignorance. Therefore, it's the yoga teacher duty to teach you what is Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi. I am soul. I am part of Brahman. Then the next step of realization is Paramatma. Paramatma means higher than Atma. Param means higher. It's used many times. Param Jyoti, highest light. Paramadvaiti, highest unity. There's many types of Param. It's always very clear. The highest. So Paramatma is the one who knows each and every one of us. He is in our heart. And in meditation, we focus on Paramatma. Otherwise, I don't know what you're going to focus on. But the Ishvara or the Patanjali meditation is on Paramatma, the inner guide. So how do you do this? The inner guide, how does he work? How does he communicate? Well, to a certain degree, through your inner voice. The inner voice is a very, very trustworthy guide. Really amazing. Why? How do you know? Is it you who knows, or it's somebody who's telling you from inside? How does it work? Intuition is connected to the Paramatma. Relaxation in deep sleep is calmness of no opposition to the Paramatma. That's when you come out of the deep sleep, you go, oh, so deeply relaxed from the sleep. Because you have no opposition. Because when you're always in opposition to your own intuition, to your inner voice, like for example, you smoke a cigarette, package says this will kill you. Okay. Put the package aside, no? Now, of course you don't smoke, I guess. When you smoke and your inner conscience says, fool, fool. So you always fight with your inner intuition, with your inner voice. No? Of course, then you cannot relax. You get all nervous and get all these kind of problems. Obviously, because not following your Paramatma. You're doing something which you know you shouldn't do. This is a big problem. So that's why Paramatma, for the yogi, is a very important thing. It's the inner master. And it's not just any inner master. It's the inner supreme master. God loves you so much that he goes into your heart to be there and tell you, hey, my friend, do you want to listen to what I have to say? I'm your eternal friend. You say, eternal friend? What do you have to say? You sleep too much. Oh my God. You watch TV, nonsense. How can you watch television with violent scenes? How will this be? After watching one Hollywood movie, you have to at least jump in the Ganga and stay there for 2 weeks. Get rid of the impact of all this nonsense aggression which they put into you, like, and the Ganga's cold. It's really, you have to. So you have to understand that the Paramatma is a very, very excellent yogic guide. In the end, it's by the Paramatma that you meet a Guru. Brahmanda Brahmite Guna Bhakti Guru Krishna Prashadavai Bhakti Lotavij. It is from your heart that your Paramatma sees that you are really sincere about spiritual life. Then this Paramatma will indicate your way and arrange everything that you need spiritual master. So therefore, Paramatma is Guru. And other persons may be Guru. Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru, says many different types of Gurus. But mother is also Guru, father is also Guru. It's a very vast area of Guruships. So, the third one is the most complicated, and I will not get into it today, because that third one is really destiny. And what is that? That is Bhagavan. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadi Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karana. What is the eternal destination of the soul? That is the land of love, where only love will be, and only love will reach, and only love will sustain, and whatever that love means, whatever that love looks like, I will not discuss with you today because it's not my subject. But it's an important subject, and you should inquire further into it, because it is much more than justice. Justice is great, no? We're all for justice, aren't we? Love is above justice. And what is the world of love? And how do you relate to that? And how do you make yourself a part of the world of love? That is yoga. That is the real meaning of yoga. So now, the faith in Brahman, faith in Paramatma, faith in Bhagavan, that faith sustains. And that power of sustaining ourselves in a certain activity, in a certain path, with certain restrictions, with certain austerities, that faith, where does it come from? Give me some idea. Where does faith come from? So of course you have to consider that there is also distorted faith, partial faith, blind faith. So subject faith is something like a basic necessity of life. I cannot step here without faith. Because it could be quicksand and I wouldn't have gone. But I face, I know they have this floor, this is okay. So I don't think about it, but I'm walking with faith, I'm talking with faith, I'm connecting with faith, I'm studying with faith, I'm marrying with faith, everything is faith-based. So I'm questioning, where's this faith coming from? Yes?
There is blind faith and there is a reasonable faith. So reasonable faith comes from credibility, like we have some experience and then faith increases.
So you think it comes from your brain?
And the second faith comes...
You think it's coming from your brain?
That is one part of faith. Another part of faith comes those who have faith by associating with them. So faith comes from...
Okay, what other proposals?
Society, culture, education, experience, all our past, in fact, gives us a certain...
External impacts is your answer.
It comes from kind of surrender. Like if you feel like you're going through something and you've lost so much, and then you develop faith out of that, because that's the only thing you can do.
Surrender. It's a big subject. I want to take it up now. Any other proposals where faith comes from?
Before we have that experience, I feel like it's part of your soul beingness. But then once you have more of a practice in your soul beingness, it's from experience that you build more and more faith.
Experience, you say.
No, but first, the primary
Soul.
is from the soul beingness.
Soul being and experience. Very interesting. Any other proposals? I give you mine. First of all, it comes from your karma. Because you're born in a certain family, you have certain type of sensual capacities, and therefore certain things are easy for you to relate to. But that's not very important. It's true, but it's not very important. Really, faith is God-given. It is the divine grace which is like the guardian angel, or you may call it many of the ways. It is that guardian angel which gives you this feeling, yeah, great, I do it, I found it, I met him, I this, I that. There's a karmic part to it, because sometimes we have faith in the wrong things. And that is where the karma comes in. But faith as a function is such a crucial element of psyche, of our psyche, of our psychology, that if we do not take in consideration, then we will not really be able how this whole yoga process works, because we came to yoga by faith also. That was the impulse which brought us here. Now, faith as a God-given help for our life means that there's some agency, some region, some domain which is well-wishing for you and which can intervene in your conscious decisions. Think about it. The psychology, the Western psychology, they totally cheated the world by going against the very meaning of the word psychology, by excluding the soul from it. Number one, they excluded the soul. The psychologists went that far to say that anybody who believes in God, he's suffering some delirium, some traumatic ladies, that he's really actually sick. That's how far they went to give the wrong teachings to the people in this world. So the question of faith in psychology, it is such an essential thing because it fills a gap which they never touched even apart. Of course, nowadays in psychology, new lines are there, there's new ideas. I'm talking about classic psychology and what is perennial psychology. Because perennial psychology goes to the very origin of consciousness. When and where did consciousness arise? And then what does it have to do with our yoga teachers? Well, the answer is really everything. It's as basic. Therefore, our inbound yoga students, they are required to take an OIDA therapy course to be very expert to understand how people's face is distorted, partial, fanatized, or blind. And that is a way you can evaluate. It's not something, now how to evaluate it is a whole process. And I will not be able to give you the entire OIDA therapy introduction course here today. I'm just trying to arouse your curiosity to see what benefit can you obtain as a yoga teacher when you understand the soul and the psychology of the importance of faith, because your students, they need your guide in order to rescue the faith which many of them have lost. Our society is painting faith into some higher reality to be arbitrary, superstitious, foolish, brainwashed, what not? What don't they say about our feelings, our intuitions, and all that? So, unless we consider the perennial psychology, we are really at loss to give the answers for all this. And therefore, simply knowledge like when you take a yoga course in many places, you have to give a good information that you are aware of the anatomic conditions, no? How the bones, how the tendons, how it works, how you don't overdo it and all that, and what kind of physical ailment could be fixed by certain postures and so on. But as far as psychology is concerned, we are not getting much guidance. Because there's often not very much clarity about it. Therefore, the inbound school of yoga has really matched up with the perennial psychology, and all this is presented through the University of Ancient Wisdom online, if you want to study about it. The University of Ancient Wisdom has adopted our perennial psychology because it is yoga psychology, because it is an understanding which is very, very valuable, and it is based on all the authorities which I mentioned before, Guru Shastra Sati, Vatya, Chitite. It is a need. So when I said that Srila, in Sanskrit, face means Srila. Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita speaks a lot about Srila. When Srila is mentioned, it's not just by external impact. And it's not by your reasoning power. It's much more by your feeling power. Faith comes much easier to you because you feel something. No? And by that feeling, you get like, you lose all the, you don't feel that now I have to evaluate, analyze it. It's just like when you come home and your mother gives you some food, you don't take it to the laboratory to check it. No, never. So mother has some certain security who's giving us our faith. So what is coming to us as an intuition or as an answer to our inner need, that is Srila, and it is God-given. I call it God-given, you may call it destiny-given, you may call it the invisible help from within, like the Paramatma. And very much you can say it's coming from Paramatma, because Paramatma is the oversoul who knows everything about us. So, this faith, it is built, it's building up in you, your conviction. And as you go further in yoga, the stronger your faith becomes in yoga, the more determined you become. right? In the beginning, it was, let me check it out. And then you say, wow, maybe I should take a teacher course. And maybe after that you think, maybe I should become a yogi. Because yogi is a certain goal, a certain lifestyle. So, and when you become a yogi, you may decide that you want to become a pure devotee of the truth. Ananya, a pure devotee of the truth, that means you become an idealist, you become a person who sacrifices himself for his goals, for his selfless goals. You become a person who is doing things without ulterior motivation. The only thing which motivates you at that point is to make others happy. Wow, now your yoga is in development, no? That doesn't happen the first day you come walk into a yoga studio. That takes time. That takes Srila, faith, more faith and more faith and good association. So the Srila, or the development of faith in the perennial psychology, it is number one, the clarity of the soul. That you get an inner conviction of your spiritual being. And I want to say it again, the United Nations of the Spirit, even though it's not a yogic movement, it is a movement of the Adivasis, or the First Nation people in the world, who have invited all of us, has lots of yogic realization inside. And therefore, we as yogis can actually become ambassadors of the United Nations of the Spirit. And I am free to say that to you because I just come from Kiva Kumbh Mela, where this declaration was formulated by all the leaders that we want the world to become ambassadors of the United Nations of the Spirit. So that, as a yogi, you're the most appropriate candidate for doing that. But, again, that's not the subject of the class. So, the faith development in the yogic process is really to deal with agnosticism, to deal with nihilism, to deal with apathy to the well-being of others, to deal with rationalism. Rationalism is so beautiful, no? I'm a very rational person. But you know, there's nothing more irrational than rationalism. It's an abstract. Rationalism is an abstract, as if you knew. How do you know a yogi? Because he tells you he knows nothing. If you think you know, it really means you know nothing. Interesting, huh? That is irrational. Now I will explain this a little bit better to you. Rational is reductionist. It reduces the truth to a few things you can focus upon. And they are all ambiguous. They are not sure. Socrates said, the only thing I know is that I don't know. And he said, oida et oidis. The same word of oida comes in Socrates saying, I know that I don't know. So, how can you know? Everything can be revealed to us. Just like a banana. Anybody of you ever produced a banana? Do you know how they make bananas? Did you ever meet a person making bananas? Have you ever eaten a banana? Yes? So you have to understand you don't know nothing about bananas, but you eat them. So what is the big deal to admit I don't know? It's honesty. How can you say I know God if you don't even know a banana? So the yogis, they don't say I know God. They say I aspire for God. I pray to God. I mean, what do we do? All these things with the First Nation people, all the things with the mantras. You know, nowadays the kirtan movement, the yoga schools have kirtan. Which one of your yoga schools holds kirtan? So, what is kirtan? Kirtan is prayer. You pray. You can even cry. You can also dance. It's no hard and fast rules. But it's all prayer. Meditation prayer. Mantra means meditation prayer. You pray to somebody. But you have to have faith. If you have no faith, why you should recite the mantra? Is that a mechanical chip you put in there, get a chemical reaction, and then bing, all of a sudden something happens? So what is this all about? When you touch the agnosticism of this world, then you will see that they have taken shelter of ignoring the possibility of some beautiful help to be done. No, there's no way to get up. I'm helplessly lost. And of course, it's not very happy news. So therefore, our people in this world, they're very much lost in what is called secularism. And the secularism, there's one side is secularism, and there's another side which is fanatism for one particular type of faith. It's really hard to understand, and there are so many of them, so we cannot just put them all through the same, but basically that fundamentalism without universal love, you can easily understand it is based on some kind of ignorance, avidya. So when you deal with such people in your yoga studio, you have to bring in perennial psychology. Say, come here, sit down. Let's think about it. Who is who and why are we who we are? And why do we think and why do we feel and what are we doing here? If you have any prejudice in your sick, because you have preconceived notions in your mind about others, and as a yogi, you're not supposed to have those. Now we have yoga for racists. What do you think about that? Yeah, yoga for stopping to be a racist. You need European psychology for that. Yoga for secularists. Well, you have a whole lot of people, they don't believe in anything. And they come to the yoga studio hoping that they find something, oriental wisdom or something floating around there. So this is really possible. Therefore, the perennial psychology empowers you. It empowers you to deal with the subject of the soul. And that empowerment will transmit to your students, and they'll become empowered and they recover the faith, lost faith. So many people have lost faith. I lost faith in my life. I went through a period of atheism. And I was thinking, oh, now I'm really a great guy because I don't believe in anything. No? No. It's a very crisis. It's a great critical period in life. And the yoga, the perennial psychology can very easily help people to recover the beauty of faith. Appreciate faith. But if you want to have your faith appreciated, you must appreciate everybody's faith. To the degree they are benefited by it. Fanatic faith, distorted faith, partial faith, blind faith, they convert. They do not necessarily, or they do not benefit you. But don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Don't do that. That is a very dangerous thing. You think, oh, there's nothing good in faith, nothing important. If you read Paramadvaiti, Krishna says, Ashradavana Purusha. If you have no faith in this, then we don't understand anything. So you have to come. Now what's the yoga tradition? The Vedic Indian yoga tradition. Om Purnam Vada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Mudachyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Vivavashishyate. Students, come here. Listen carefully. Put your ear and now listen. The Supreme Lord is everywhere. Wow. The Supreme Lord is nowhere. Start shaking. The Supreme Lord is the smallest of the smallest. The Supreme Lord is the greatest of the greatest. Now the yoga teacher said, do you accept that? Wow, wait a second. It all sounded pretty contradictory. What you just said, where did you get that from? Well, it's from Sri Ishopanishad, the first book the yoga student, the Vedic student reads. And then you say, no, teacher, I'm sorry, I can't accept it. Okay, go back to your mom. You have no business with yoga. You cannot accept that there's something beyond your mind. You think everything has to be approved and understood, scrutinized and scanned by your mind? If you think that, then you will be disqualified. Disqualified from yoga. Of course, you don't say that because he pays for the yoga school. You don't have this type of checkup like the rishis had, no? Where the person has to first prove himself as a worthy student. I heard this one thing, the student comes from a monastery, he knocks at the door, they open the door, what do you want? I want to live here, I want to study here. Close the door. And he sits there. Next day, again open, what do you want? I want to study in this monastery. Shut the door again. After the third day, they open the door, they put a bowl of food. He said, after 3 days I get something to eat. So he starts eating, they open the door. You just came here for eating, right? So let's say our yoga schools are not that difficult to join. But our yoga school's responsibility is Atmajnana. It cannot be cheap. And the people are sick and suffering in so many ways. So therefore we started this inbound school of yoga to give people the full picture. Maybe not all at once, but at least they should understand that it's scientific. Perennial psychology teaches you that you're a soul. If you already believe it, we don't have to talk about it. It's a subject for those who don't believe that the soul exists, who don't believe that the inner capacity, the inner call of every living entity is love. And that love is the soul's connection. Therefore, we had yesterday a concert. I don't know if who you went there. We called it Rock the Soul. Because that was a soul. Every soul was singing. Every song and everything came from the soul. And it was not in the yogic tradition. Only at the end we sang some mantras from the yogic tradition. But everything else was from the heart. From the heart of the people singing. So, unfortunately, this lecture comes to an end, and not much has been explained. But here you can see Perennial Psychology is a book I compiled. It's the first one of a series. I write in Spanish, so that's why it takes a long time for me to get a book into English. And it's a very hard job. So when there's already a second and a third volume out, in this book you find many psychological tools how to bring a person to understand the meaning of faith, the meaning of consciousness, the meaning of soul, the history of his life. It's very, very analytical, and at the same time, it opens the doors to the infinite. So this is what we teach on the course of Perennial Psychology. And that's what all our yoga teachers, like we have some of our yoga teachers here also, Govinda Dham, and also from South America here is Bhakti. We have around 100 yoga schools in South America, more, we don't count. So, and this is very nice, and people are very happy. Of course, in South America, the people are easygoing, because for them to accept that their soul, it's almost natural. It's more, if you try to do the same thing in France, wow. That's another story. You have to have a French version of perennial psychology, and probably an American one as well. But it helps. It helps. Maybe it's not the final word on it because there's so much that can be said, but in South America it has been a beautiful experience, because now the yoga teachers itself, those who qualified, they're taking it as a mission. You know, to be a yoga teacher is a mission. It's not a job, it's not a work. It's a life, it's a hard mission. So you should be very prepared. That's why I put it the title of this Perennial Psychology Help for Yoga Teachers. And I'm very happy you responded and came and listened to this, because usually you don't get. I was one thing, I say it's a critical thing. We come here to a yoga thing, and we have all the big yogis, the famous yogis, but there's not one discussion between the teachers of what is actually the best thing we can do. There's no, we call that in India Ishta Gosti. Ishta Gosti, Ishta is the Lord, and Gosti means you talk together. How are we serving the Lord? Are we really serving Him? Are we really getting the best? And how can we improve? But that platform doesn't exist here. Yoga teaches Ishta Gosti is very important. And the perennial psychology provides that platform to you evaluate your own way, how you see the soul, how you relate to the divine. Because yoga is all about the divine. And besides that, you're all divine. And I'm not saying that to flatter you. I'm saying that because you are divine, and everybody who's working with yoga is a channel of the divine. That's why Yogeshwara is the supreme lord of the yogis, and he is Yogeshwara Krishna. And that's why he has given us the Bhagavad Gita, which is the guidance, the philosophical guidance for yogis. So if you want to really get the insight clear of the yoga, please read the Bhagavad Gita as it is, which my spiritual master gave us to the world, which is a very important book for yoga. But if you're interested in perennial psychology, we have a few English books here. And if you want to take a course online, we have our Institute for Veda Therapy in English languages in Bulgaria. And from Bulgaria, we do those courses. And there's a lot, especially psychology. Is there any psychology here amongst you? One. So we have in the University of Ancient Wisdom, we have the investigators. For us, the perennial psychology is a little bit something like Linux. It's something to be further developed. It's not the final word. It's how to help the people, and anybody who is an investigator and wants to be part of it, he can join us in the University of Ancient Wisdom as a teaching or a teacher investigator. And most welcome. It is something, it doesn't belong to me. I just have been a channel to be part of the perennial psychology, and I convey it to you that you can look it over, get the best out of it, and if you can make more out of it, then share it. Don't just keep it all. Because all the rights reserved, which they say, all the rights reserved with love. All the rights reserved with the Lord of love. Otherwise, this becomes just commerce. And this is not. No, let's have some time for questions. I'm sorry time ran out so quick, but that's life. Yes, go ahead. Speak loud.
How can we get a glimpse of what you are talking about experientially, not only theoretically?
The experience is in submission. When you're submissive to some information, then you may make a hard attempt to try it out. Like they say, the proof of the pudding, you put it as in the eating. So if you're just skeptical, oh, I don't know, then you may never get a clue. But if you say what you're saying makes so much sense, hey, you convinced me. Let me read this book and let me try it out with myself and then with my yoga student, and then I tell you later how perennial psychology has helped me to improve my yoga students, classes, and my own consciousness. Then I say, here's an example of an experience or someone who's realized the benefits of that. You agree? Any other question?
Can you say about more, if we buy this book, can we apply it in yoga classes or?
You can apply it, yes, definitely. Of course, it requires a little bit psychological experience. Also, there's questionnaires. People fill out the questionnaires, and you can also adapt it a little bit to your environment. Like I say, it's a Linux program. You know Linux? It's like developed, it's open source. It's like, make good use of it, be responsible, like that. But yes, you can use it, definitely.
And to study it online, this is the book which is needed to go through? Or?
When you study online, you will get additional materials. There's a lot, the inbound, the Oida therapy research has been very vast. We have right now 100 psychologists working in the development. Here's one of them. She's from Argentina. She's psychology of the Oida team. So we have 100 psychologists working to get the final good cut, so that it will really be, so that the orthodox, or let's call it them, the classical schooling systems cannot find faults with it. For those who have full faith in faith, it's not a big deal.
Yes.
They just say, hey, that's great, but I was waiting for that. And some people will say, oh, is this academic? Or what is this? Or is this a new religion? Yes?
Would you like to tell us something about Oida artists, and we can finish with the circle dance?
Yeah, I present to you, this is Isholyan. Come to the front, please. Govindadam, are you there? No. Isholyan, she's in charge of the University of Ancient Wisdom in Santa Marta, Colombia, where we have set up. And from the Oida therapy, many other things have developed, like faith education. A whole Waldorf stylish educational program has developed on the basis of these discoveries and connected with the yoga. Then we also developed Oida Arts, which is all this type of art which comes from the heart. Art from the heart is Oida art. So when you've connected with your arts, you get strength, you get joy, and that is building up your faith. So there's many types of approach. Oida art is one. Then with the ancient tribal people, we have also done lots of Oida exchanges and found out to our greatest joy that their whole faith system is based on the same. You believe in what your heart tells you is the best, and that you check up with everybody around you, and then in this way you go on the path. One more. One more. Yeah, so you can talk to her. She is, Bhakti is there. Radhesham, the girl with the cell phone, she is working for the University of Ancient Wisdom. She was also in Santa Marta. Right now she's fulfilling many of the duties in India, because in India we are also developing the perineum psychology. So it's something very interesting. It's in the initial stage here. There in South America we've already worked a long time and very long. It's a very rewarding experience. And we hope you can confirm that it has become a rewarding experience for you. You can stay in contact with them, take their information. Any other question? We only do 3.
We have the proposal with Nubia that we could do the circle dance here to end an experience.
Nubia.
Oida.
Nubia is here?
Yes.
Nubia, venga por favor. Because it's raining outside? Really?
Yes, we can do one here, we can do more outside.
Well, Nubia she is doing the circle dances. That belongs also to Rita art. So we can have a little experience of that. So actually, Nubia, she's from the roots of the earth. She's an incredible woman and leader of the heart. It's difficult to describe. Plus, she has 8 children and still dancing. So that means something, no? 8 children and 15 grandchildren. So that's yeah, because it's raining outside.
It was raining and everything sweat.
You want to start here?